Hey, good morning, YouTube. When is an apology not really an apology? Anybody basically paying any attention to the news should be aware of, Fox News, and they drive me crazy. I watch them just to see what the hell they're saying, but most of the time, and I say most, but not all, you have to take what they say with a grain of salt. Now, here's an example of an apology. As you can see, Steve Emerson, terrorist expert for the U.S., went on Fox and made a bunch of claims about no-go zones. Okay, but here's his apology.
I relied on incorrect research. It was totally irresponsible for me not to have fact-checked the information that I obtained, and it was not done out of any malice, but out of total irresponsible journalistic practice, which I usually and uniformly don't practice.
Are you aware that our Prime Minister has called you a complete idiot?
Yes, I'm aware.
What does that make you feel?
Not great. Mistakes are made, but what can I tell you? I mean, my career has not been marked by such mistakes. I made a mistake. I acknowledged it immediately. The BBC has made mistakes. I mean, a journalist who makes a mistake at the BBC has the protection of the BBC. I don't. I've appeared on the BBC. I've appeared on Fox. I've appeared on other stations around the world. But I work for myself. I don't get paid by anybody else. Okay.
Are you aware now that in fact only 230,000 Muslims live in Birmingham out of a population of about a million?
I'm fully aware of the demographics of Birmingham. Fully aware. I've been sent hundreds of emails.
Yeah, I bet. Well, thousands and thousands, millions will be watching this interview at some stage and listening to what you say. What would you say to people?
They should know that I am fully responsible, that I am deeply apologetic. I am mortified by my mistake. I am totally responsible for it. I do not hide away from it. I want to apologize to everyone, and I'm not making any excuses whatsoever. If I could roll back time, I would, but I can't. And I can only tell you that I will be 1,000 times more careful in the future in anything I write, but I can also tell you that this has been an experience that has been brutal, but I deserve it because I made a mistake, and I shouldn't have made it.
Steve Emerson, thank you for talking to us.
You're very welcome.
Okay, now that's an apology, okay. The guy made a mistake, and he fully apologized, and I'm not a Muslim, but if I were, I would accept the guy's apology. But my question is, where did he get that information from, okay? And my opinion is that Fox News gave him a bunch of talking points, and that was one of them, okay? So, but that's an apology. Now, here's another apology by Fox News.
A correction now. Over the course of this last week, we have made some regrettable errors on air regarding the Muslim population in Europe, particularly with regard to England and France. Now, this applies especially to discussions of so-called no-go zones, areas where non-Muslims allegedly aren't allowed in and police supposedly won't go. To be clear, there is no formal designation of these zones in either country and no credible information to support the assertion there are specific areas in these countries that exclude individuals based solely on their religion. There are certainly areas of high crime in Europe, as there are in the United States and other countries, where police and visitors enter with caution. We deeply regret the errors and apologize to any and all who may have taken offense, including the people of France and England. We'll be right back.
Okay, now that's an apology too. And by the way, she's not a bad-looking woman. But that being said, you notice there was no smile on her face. She basically gave a full-blown apology. Okay, again, totally acceptable as far as I'm concerned. That's, to me, is a good apology. But now, let's go to the next one.
We want to tell you, last Saturday, we showed a map of neighborhoods in France labeled as no-go zones. Some of the neighborhoods were highlighted incorrectly. We apologize for the error.
Okay, that's an apology, but to me, that's basically lukewarm. She was basically, to me, just basically glossing over it. Now, here's an example of what is not an apology.
And last week on this program, a guest made a serious factual error that we wrongly let stand unchallenged and uncorrected. The guest asserted that the city of Birmingham, England, is totally Muslim and that it is a place where non-Muslims don't go. Both are incorrect. The most recent census data, which is from 2011, indicates 22% of the population of Birmingham identifies themselves as Muslim. Also, we could find no credible source that indicates Birmingham is a so-called no-go zone. We deeply regret these errors and apologize to the people of Birmingham, our viewers, and all who've been offended. And last week on this...
Now, you notice, she's smiling the whole doggone time. The whole time she's smiling, okay? And at the very end, to me, she was taking this thing as a joke. And, I really didn't appreciate it.
And last week...
Okay. Now, the reason I'm making this video is, Fox News, they got out there, they put that crap out there about, no-go zones, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So, okay, they got an apology out there. Now, this took place during the past week. This is the result of people who follow Fox News and only Fox News, and then don't even follow it or adjust their positions after Fox News acknowledges that they're wrong. I'm going to show you some clips on Bobby Jindal. This guy is the biggest turd in the world, okay? He's the governor of Louisiana, and Louisiana is doing terribly. I mean terribly. And he has the nerve to go over to London and make a bullshit speech about no-go zones, okay? Now, this is even after Fox has apologized. I'm going to play the clip.
Governor Bobby Jindal ruffled a lot of feathers today in London when he called out Muslim leaders for failing to crack down and denounce radical Islam. NBC 33's Talia Similian joins us live in the News Center now with reaction to the governor's speech. Talia?
Jean, I spoke with several local imams today to see how they felt about Governor Jindal's speech. Their reactions were all very similar. They told me that what Jindal said was unfair, insensitive, and that he's just riding the backs of Muslims to gain political power. Bobby Jindal perpetuated the myth of no-go zones today during his European speech. No-go zones are alleged areas in Europe where non-Muslims aren't allowed because they've been taken over by radical Islamists. Analysts, researchers, and Europe's prime minister say these zones don't exist, and the claim is idiotic. But Jindal thinks they're real.
Look, I've heard from folks here there are neighborhoods where women don't feel comfortable going in without veils. That's wrong. We all know there are neighborhoods where police are less likely to go into those neighborhoods.
There is no such thing as no-go zones. There are some poor areas, and it was referred to as in economic depression areas for immigrants from North Africa. So it was totally out of content.
Local imams feel betrayed by our governor. They say his remarks on these imaginary no-go zones is just a way to gain support.
That's very unfortunate. I can only guess that he's trying to cater to the right-wing extremists in this country to secure the nomination that he's seeking to be president.
Jindal summed up his speech in a single statement. He argues that Islam has a problem. He firmly believes that Muslim immigrants must work harder to assimilate into their adopted countries and adopt its law and values. He blames Muslim leaders for not insisting on this and creating dangerous environments because of it.
Radical Islamists hate our values. They threaten our way of life.
They don't appreciate, they don't condone, they don't allow freedom of expression, self-determination.
Local imams are questioning Jindal's authority on this matter.
You know, what kind of credibility does he have? What kind of knowledge does he have to speak on behalf of the Muslims? How much information do he have about Europe? To even speak about the condition there in Europe.
Imam Sabri points out that Governor Jindal should be focusing on the issues we have here at home, not traveling to another country and speaking as a foreigner. Live in the news center, Talia Ismailian, NBC 33 News.
Okay, so Bobby Jindal got his ass in trouble by opening his mouth, and then even after he knew that the information that he was saying was wrong, you know, he just continues on. I mean, here we go. CNN did a quick interview with him. I'm going to show this one, and then there's one following it.
Looking at the world, it's completely incompatible.
Well, excuse me, I got to start this from the beginning.
Would allow, even unofficially, for a so-called no-go zone. The governor, Bobby Jindal, is joining us now live from London. Governor, thanks very much for joining us. Would allow, even unofficially, for a so-called no-go zone. The governor, Bobby Jindal, is joining us now live from London. Governor, thanks very much for joining us. I don't know if you realize your remarks are creating a lot of criticism out here. Some are calling it, at least the Council on American Islamic Relations, hate-mongering. Explain exactly what you're trying to tell all of us when you're describing these so-called no-go zones.
Absolutely. Well, look, I knew by speaking the truth, we're going to make people upset. Even today, in the Daily Mail, you had a local police chief admit that there are no-go zones here in London. Here's the bigger point. Radical Islamists hate our values. They threaten our way of life. They don't appreciate, they don't condone, they don't allow freedom of expression, self-determination. Anybody that thinks that you should be killed for drawing a cartoon, obviously, it does not, is a terrorist, is somebody that we need to hunt down, that we need to get rid of in our societies. The huge issue, the big issue with non-assimilation. The fact that you've got people that want to come to our country but not adopt our values. In some cases, not adopt our language. In some cases, want to set apart their own enclaves and continue to hold on to their own values. I think that's dangerous. I think it's dangerous in America. I think it's dangerous in Europe. It used to be normal to call America the great melting pot. Now, because of political correctness, some people think that it's cultural arrogance or it's colonial somehow to insist that people that want to come to America should be Americans, should want to be Americans, should share our commitment to the freedom of religious liberty, freedom of expression, the right to self-determination. So my point is we've got a huge challenge in those that don't want to assimilate, don't want to integrate. Quite frankly, we have a right as a country to say if you want to come to America to be an American and pursue the American dream, to enjoy freedom and opportunity, we welcome you. However, if you don't, we don't want you in our country.
You know, but you're not saying there are no-go zones in the United States. What you're suggesting, there are these so-called no-go zones in the United Kingdom where you are right now. And a lot of people are pressing you on this, Governor. Where are those no-go zones? What specific locations are you talking about?
No, you're exactly right, Wolf. Look, again, you had a police chief here in London today say to the Daily Mail, there are absolutely neighborhoods. I'm not talking about entire cities, as others have tried to suggest. I'm saying there are neighborhoods where the police say they don't go as frequently. There are neighborhoods where women do not feel comfortable walking without veils. And you're right, no, we don't see that in America. We wouldn't tolerate that in America. But in America, if we continue to allow folks to come in without insisting on assimilation, on integration, this is what lies in our future. And what I worry about in America, it's become politically correct to say that, well, that's just a religious difference. This is not a religious difference. We need Muslim leaders to stand up and denounce these radical Islamists and say that not only condemning the violence, condemning these individuals and saying these are not martyrs. They're not going to enjoy a reward in the afterlife, but rather they're going straight to hell. That somebody that uses military tactics to kill innocent civilians, women, children, men at their place of work, in their residences, simply because they drew a cartoon or for other offenses, we need Muslim leaders to condemn these individuals, not just the acts of violence, but these individuals, make it clear that these aren't martyrs.
But are these neighborhoods that you're talking about, these so-called no-go zones, are they in London? Are they in Birmingham? Are they in other cities? Have you spoken to British law enforcement about this? What are they saying to you?
Sir, look, I've heard all day. We have met with elected officials and others, and again, a British police official, a local police chief, has made these comments in the local press. It's not a surprise to folks here that there absolutely are areas where the police are less likely to go. There are areas where women feel like they have to wear veils, but Wolf, again, I think my critics are missing the bigger point. The bigger point is that radical Islam is absolutely a threat to our way of life. This is a group that we must hunt down and kill. And secondly, we need to promote assimilation and integration. It's no longer acceptable simply, and by doing this, I'm talking about, for example, how we educate our children about American exceptionalism. I'm talking about insisting on English. I'm talking about insisting on adherence to our values. Sharia law is completely incompatible with Western notions of self-determination, of equality, of human dignity. It's not just another way of looking at the world. It's completely incompatible, and we need to recognize radical Islam for the real threat that it is.
In your home state of Louisiana, have Muslims been appropriately assimilated, Muslim immigrants?
In my home state of Louisiana, in many places, we passed outright bans on Sharia law. And Wolf, what I'm saying is across America, we are beginning to lose our way. You hear people say, for example, we're not a melting pot, now we're a salad bowl. You've heard in America academic elites and liberals and the left say, hey, it's arrogant to insist people learn English, learn our values. This is just another way, an equally valid way. Well, that's nonsense. When my parents came to Louisiana over 40 years ago, they came so they could be Americans. They love India. They love our heritage, but they didn't want us to be growing up Indians. If we were, we would have stayed in India. Instead, they said, you are Americans, not hyphenated Americans. Another thing I said today was, we don't need to be calling ourselves Irish Americans, Indian Americans, African Americans. We're all American. And that is extremely important. I think immigration shouldn't be done based on race, color, or nonsensical divisions. It should be based on if people want to come and pursue freedom and opportunity, work hard, get a great education, enjoy that freedom that our parents left for us. That should be how we determine who we let in and who we don't let in. So it used to be acceptable to talk about the American dream, American exceptionalism, Western values. What I fear is political correctness is driving us to pretend like these differences don't matter, and it's equally acceptable to adopt Sharia law. It's equally acceptable to reject these notions of what our Judeo-Christian heritage that have made us so unique, so successful, and continue to allow us to make our own decisions about how to lead our lives.
But, Governor, we can all be proud of America, proud to be Americans, but we can also be proud of our ethnic heritage, right?
Yes, I'll be saying,
Oh, absolutely. And I'm saying people should absolutely embrace our ethnic heritage. Look, America is a majority Christian country, but there's no penalty, and there shouldn't be, for those who have different faiths or those who are of no faith. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with being proud of our heritage, but we're Americans. And the reason we came here is we knew this was a special place, a unique place, and we should insist on those that come into our country. What worries me
would allow...
See, that guy is talking out of both sides of his face. I mean, excuse me. He talks about not holding on to your values, okay, if you're a foreigner, learning a language, okay, things like that. Okay, yeah, now I'll go along with learning a language because if you really want to be successful in the United States, obviously English is the primary language. So if you want to communicate with people, you need how to learn, need to learn English. But as far as your values, hey, people from all over the world, most of them or a lot of them basically have the same values that we have. Now, you were talking about radical Muslims. No, they obviously are coming from a different place. But as far as, values, everybody basically values, their family. I don't know any people that just don't value their family. And I don't know any people that don't want the best for the family. Okay, and I don't know, any people that really want to adopt ways of crime basically as a way of life. Now, you have individuals that do that, but not specifically a people. Everybody basically just wants to live and let live and go about their own way and be happy. All right, I'm going to show you the final cut where a reporter from London basically takes him to task on all of this.
Look, I've heard from folks here there are neighborhoods where women don't feel comfortable going in without veils. That's wrong. We all know there are neighborhoods where police are less likely to go into those neighborhoods.
You need to have proper sort of facts to back that up. I've lived here a long time. I don't know of any no-go zones for non-Muslims.
Well, I did say so-called no-go zones, and I think that the radical left absolutely wants to pretend like this problem's not here. Pretending it's not here won't make it go away.
But exaggerating it into a no-go zone is also going too far.
There are people here in London that will tell you there are neighborhoods where the women don't feel safe walking through those neighborhoods without veils. There are neighborhoods where the police...
Now, I'm going to stop it there because he's full of shit. Okay. Yeah.